The whole raid concept is just amazing because you can take, like you said, you take your 500,000 people and you find somebody who's maybe just streaming the 10. You drop them in there. You just made their day, their week, and it's so cool to be able to do that after every time you guys stream.
It's so much fun to go raid. I love raiding small streamers. I do it about half the time now, and because I remember that raid, I tell the story all the time. That time Nixia raided with 40
Yeah.
people, which was mind blowing, and my brain melted. I didn't know what to say, I just went toward, and I love creating that moment for someone
Mhm.
else with a big raid on a small streamer, it's life changing stuff, and it's a lot of fun to share that love.
Welcome to BSG's New Year's event and part of the special Tarducks podcast. Really appreciate you coming on, and it's wonderful to see you again.
Great to be here.
Yeah. So, just like the last time on Tarducks, we start off with three random questions. So, are you ready to jump in?
Look, it's been a while, but I'm ready.
All right. So, when you're coming to the US, what do you look forward to the most?
Oh man, I love the people, but I also love the fast food outlets. I love going to the fast food outlets that I grew up with seeing in the movies, like White Castle. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. I got to try that White Castle.
Absolutely. All right. So, you're bustling around the house and the TV's on in the background. All right. What movie or TV show are you stopping what you're doing to just sit down and watch it? It always sucks you in.
Oh, let's see. I'm a sucker for things like Curb Your Enthusiasm and those long-running shows that are the comedies that just draw you right back in again, and you can't look away.
All right. And the third question. So, if you could choose any person in history to share a piece of toast and a cup of coffee, well, no, not a coffee, a martini with, who are you sitting down with and chatting?
Someone in history. Let's see. I think it'd be I don't know. Einstein comes to mind, but what? Let's go back further. How about Plato or one of those guys, Aristotle? Those guys, I'd really like to talk to.
All right, there we go. All right. So, first of all, let me thank you so much for representing us 50 plus gamers. You are doing an awesome job.
It's great. So many people come in chat and say, "Thank you." I'm 50 or 40 something, and I always feel bad about playing these games, but thank you for making it okay to play
Yeah.
games and be older.
Yeah, we've saw it all. We started where, a soccer ball was a square pixel on a TV screen, and that TV screen may be black and white.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell people the first computer game I played was before video games were invented. It was a command line text adventure called Colossal Cave that was on a mainframe.
Yep. Oh man. And then, the other thing we suffered through is, those years where like we were older gamers, but it was kind of frowned upon. And you find somebody in the office that games, and it was like a hushed conversation. Oh, you game? And then now it's different.
It was a shameful secret, and for most of my life, I was ashamed of playing games. I never told people at work, and I even hid it from partners or tried to game in secret because I grew up with it being it's a waste of time. It's a thing I shouldn't be doing. I should be doing a real job so I can earn money to do the thing I want to do, which is game. Never
Yeah.
occurred to me that I could actually make it my job
Yeah.
until later in life.
Absolutely. And even today, like, we have, over here, we have the softball leagues at work and whatnot. Now you're seeing like corporations having like competitive gaming teams and it's mind blowing to where it's come.
Yeah, it is amazing. Like even in school, like growing up in school, in high school, there was just sport and nothing else. Maybe a
Yeah.
chess club, but nothing for nerdy guys. And the whole school owned one computer. There was nothing for us. Whereas me and my dad at home had home computers. We were making games. We were doing all that stuff ourselves, but not at school and
Yeah.
definitely not at work.
Absolutely. All right. So before you found Twitch, you've hit the go live button. What is your background?
Well, this is my fourth career, so I've had a long life and I've changed career several times. I started out doing computer science in college and started out coding. So my first summer job was coding computer games. I was part of a role-playing game, The Hobbit, on Commodore 64s and Sinclair Spectrums. And then I got a real job programming, and I did commercial software for corporations. CD-ROMs. I worked on the first CD-ROM ever made in Australia. CD-ROMs, who remembers them?
You know,
But
right?
they were space age at the time. So I was a programmer for a while. Then I got into user interface design. I was fascinated with how do you lay out the screen to make it intuitive for people, and became a UX consultant. I was that for a number of years, but then I got burnt out being an office worker and playing office politics and
Mhm.
losing more battles than I won, and not knowing why, because didn't have the social skills to sell my ideas.
Yeah.
So I switched to something where I was creative all day, every day, and my decisions went out the door. I didn't have to convince other people, and that was editing. I discovered film editing and TV editing, and that's what I was right up until I started streaming
Yeah.
as a TV editor. So I worked on some amazing shows. The most famous one I worked on was Mythbusters, which was shot in California, but was edited in Sydney, Australia, where I was living.
Nice. And now, were you at that phase of editing where they were doing tape to tape editing, or was it all nonlinear at this point?
It was all non-linear when I started in about 2005 or something like that, when I started out. So it was all non-linear, but it was very low resolution. When you were editing footage, you were editing it at like 240 by 180 or something like that. You couldn't tell if a shot was in focus or not until they went full resolution later, when they were
Yeah.
finishing the program.
Yeah.
Um, so it was rough, but it was digital the whole
Yeah.
time I was there. But it
Nice.
was coming from tape, so
Okay. Yep.
from digital tape, not hard drive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing now where, all of that editing has come. Now it's all cloud, it could be cloud based, do it on your phone, whatever. It's, yeah, and the
Ah,
resolution.
yeah, but when I started editing, an edit suite was a very specialized PC. An Avid was not a piece of software; it was a computer with a whole lot of
Yes.
custom graphics cards in it. And then the finishing computer, the one they did the full resolution program on, that was $100,000 machine. And
Yeah.
it's time on that. We'd be running shifts because the machine was way more expensive than the people. Now it's
Absolutely.
now you can do it on any laptop.
Yeah. And on the go wherever. Yeah. It's
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
now,
wild.
from a gaming standpoint, where you were talking about, we played, the early, text-based games like Zork and things like that. Over the years, what are some of the games that really, stick out for you?
Oh man. The so apart from the mainframes, so with the advent of computer games, like I used to live out in the suburbs, and in school holidays I was allowed to travel into the city on the train by myself, even late primary school and all through high school, and I'd go play the stand-up
Oh,
cabinet
yeah.
video games. So Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Galaga, Missile Command, all those machines. I just loved playing those machines growing up. And then it wasn't until much later I got. I didn't have many consoles at home. I went out to play video games on those
Yeah.
machines until I had a. What did you? Then I had. What did you play GoldenEye on? That was a
Nintendo.
Nintendo,
Yeah.
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 Nintendo machine, Nintendo 64, something like
64.
that.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was revolutionary. That's the first machine I had at home. That was around 2000. So I was a consultant during the day, and I'd go home and play GoldenEye and stuff like that on the Nintendo. And
Secretly
then
too.
secretly, that's right. And then the Xbox came out in, I think, '01, and I got the Xbox, and I just absolutely loved that. I would even take it with me on business trips. I remember with Halo, original Halo Combat Evolved, I was working, consulting for a bank in New Zealand, and I would pack my Xbox and controller in my luggage, take it with me, and I was staying in hotels. I'd hook it up to the hotel TV and play Halo, and that's where the flood came in and terrified me. And the best kept secret in video games. You couldn't keep a secret like that in a video game now. But the
Yeah,
flood was
no.
a big surprise at the time, and I remember that vividly. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
And
going
then
back.
so Halo,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Well, that was a big one. That was a big one.
yeah. Yeah, going back to the arcades, man, those were good, those are things that will never be relived again. Walking into that
Mm.
arcade, the smell, the sound, just, everyone putting their quarters up, lining up to play these games was yeah, it was a good time.
Tell you what, the smell, yeah, you never forget the smell. Later on, video stores would have that same sort of
Yeah,
sweaty smell and sticky carpet,
yeah.
But it was exciting and all the lights and sounds, and yeah, it was like nothing else.
Yeah. So now, from a streaming standpoint, how did you find Twitch and what made you hit that go live button?
It's so interesting. I was aware of Twitch because I edited a feature-length documentary about indie video game development. So I got this job editing this show, and one of the things, and it followed small developers around, people who built things like the Stanley Parable and small two-person teams like that. It was about 10 years ago, and and I edited all the interviews first, and in the process of making this documentary, and they interviewed streamers like Man versus Game. I remember, who still streams. And there was an interview with Man versus Game. That's how I discovered Twitch. And at the time, I was playing Arma 3 Battle Royale on the PC at home, and I discovered there were streamers who streamed Arma 3 Battle Royale, and you could watch them play and learn from them. And it was this mind-blowing whole world that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, it's wild. And for those that, don't know, when you started out, you were sort of like and got connected with Pestily, you were like Pestily's dad. And, there are a lot of people like, is that Pest's dad? And, so how did that all come about?
It was so bizarre when I first. So during COVID, Melbourne, Australia had one of the biggest lockdowns in the Western world. We all got sent home, so TV industry just shut down, and we were just sitting at home. And I was playing Escape from Tarkov at the time, and I got the idea to try streaming because what else am I going to do? And I'm playing, and I've got a computer set up. I've got cameras, microphones, because I'm an editor, right? I've got all this
Right.
stuff already. So I decided to give streaming a go, and I just thought I just streamed to nobody all day for a few weeks. There'd be one or two viewers sometimes, but right from that beginning, everyone would ask me, "Are you Pestily's dad?" Like, as a sort of joke, but everyone thought of this joke themselves and kept asking me. And I knew who Pestily was. Like, I'd watched his YouTube videos. He was
Yeah.
part of the reason why I bought Tarkov. Was Pestily's YouTube videos. So I always said, well, we're both Australians, so I guess we have the same accent. And I'm 57. I was 56 or 55 at the time. I'm old enough to be Pestily's dad, and so I let people run with it and just said that. And luckily, he thought it was funny, and then he leaned into the joke when he came up with the idea to have a subathon, but instead of sleeping on stream and playing YouTube clips, flying someone in and looking after the stream. He tried to get someone else to do it, but they didn't have sufficient vaccinations and stuff to get into the state because it was all still COVID protocols and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he messaged me one day and said I've got an idea I want to run past you, and that. So I had a voice conversation with Pestily, my idol, and he said, I want to fly you over in secret and have you look after my stream." And he just said to people after 18 hours, after streaming 18 hours on a wipe 2 years ago, there he was. He said, "Okay, I'm going to bed now, but I'm not going to play clips. I'm going to get my dad to look after the stream. Be nice to my dad." And that was me, and everyone went ballistic.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, just COVID sort of lacking the restrictions. You're flying in, you've never met him before. Now you're staying at his house for how many days were you there for?
I was there 7-day
Yeah.
subathon, yes, and he picked me up at the airport, and it was amazing. He and his wife, they were so lovely, and they're just down to earth, wonderful people. But at the time, you think, oh my god, it's Pestily,
Yeah.
he's the guy, So it was like meeting a Hollywood actor, and but he was just really lovely guy and just very down to earth, and we've quickly got past that. But then we spent that first evening together. We had dinner, we had a long chat, and everything. It was great. But then after that, we never saw each other because he would be live and then I would take over. He'd go to sleep and then we'd switch around.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to actually spend time together more than 1 minute in the kitchen making a coffee or something for another week. But I was staying at his house.
Yeah.
So it was a funny situation, but it was just an amazing atmosphere and so exciting.
Yeah, I think I remember during that. So one point you were like in his room while he was sleeping or something like that, streaming.
Oh, yes. So he would be asleep, and he would be asleep. He had a camera on him sleeping in the corner. So I got the idea that first night he would be asleep, and chat's going, sing him a lullaby, or something like that. And I got the idea to grab. So I made his sleeping cam full screen and my picture just in the corner, and I dragged it over to his head and said, good night, Pestily, sleep well. Good night, my little crouton. And I gave him a kiss on the head like I'm his dad. It's like, this great streamer. He's one of the best Tarkov players in the world, and I'm calling him my little crouton. And like, it caught on, and that's one of the most watched clips on his channel now.
Yeah.
Is Night Crouton.
So now let's go back to when you hit that go live button. So you hit the go live button, and now people are coming in. It's a totally unique experience.
It really is, and people started turning up and being interested in seeing this old guy playing Tarkov, and the numbers started to grow, and it just really surprised me that it went anywhere. I wasn't expecting that, but I remember my first raid was actually from Nixia, who's been on Tarducks,
Yeah.
a great Canadian streamer, and I was streaming to 3 or 4 people 3 weeks into streaming, and then I got this alert which I'd never heard before. I didn't even know what it was. It was a raid, and all these people were in chat. She raided with 40 people, which was mind blowing, and my mind just melted. I couldn't keep up with chat. I didn't know what was happening. I'm buzzing, and that's the feeling when a big raid happens. But earlier today, I had my second drops day, and I just got raided by Sheaf and Willers with 30,000 people.
Wow.
And again, my mind melts and chat goes ballistic, and you're on, and 30,000 people want to know what you have to say and want to see how you play Tarkov, and people go, wow, you play Tarkov differently from other people. You don't get rattled by getting killed or whatever, and I play at a much slower pace than other people. I don't shift W Tarkov. I caps lock W Tarkov. I slowly move around. I avoid fights. I play solo, and I get my quests done. I don't shoot people unless I'm being paid to shoot people, in a quest. I just focus on my quests. I treat this thing like a survival game,
Yes.
and have for my own sort of fun, and show people a whole other way to play Tarkov.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the nice things about, the way your style, your streaming style is, as you're doing things, you're walking everybody through what you're doing. So even people who don't know how to play the game or just learning the game, it's a great way to just learn the game watching your stream.
It's part of what I learned how I said I was a user interface designer, UX designer. One thing you would do is you'd show people draft prototype software and you give them a task and you'd ask them to think aloud. So I knew about thinking aloud. When I'm in Tarkov, streaming is just thinking aloud. So I'm saying, okay, I'm in customs. My goal this raid is to get the key from the pocket watch key in 202 in 3-story dorms. Is it 203? And my goal there, but I don't want to go there right away. It'll be too busy. I'm going to kill some time by looting where near the spawn before I go out there. So let the Chads fight their fights, and then I'll go in 10 minutes into the raid. And I'm just talking like that, like thinking aloud. And it's a skill that came from user interface design.
Yeah, and it serves you well, serves the stream fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. People learn a whole other way of playing Tarkov that is slower, and you survive better. And in Tarkov, you need to survive a few raids, otherwise you're just going to go broke, like I did in Arena last week.
And going back to the Nixia raid, from that, I think General Sam, caught you as well. He put out a video, and General Sam does what General Sam does, and what a unique character he is.
He's a hilarious guy with a great wit, the funniest guy in Tarkov, I think, and doing Tarkov content. And he noticed me and made a comment on about me on stream. He thought, "Oh, check out this guy." At the time, I was using the notes function in Tarkov. A lot of people don't know that. On the tasks tab, there's a notes tab, and you can write notes down. And he had seen a stream of me where I used to write down all my quests, and I'd write shopping lists of all the things I need for my hideout in the notes function, and I'd write down how many spark plugs I need and how many wires I need for my hideout. And he made a joke about that on his own stream, and then people told me about it. So I went and found his VOD, and I put it in my intro video that General Sam saying, "There's this old guy, 50-year-old guy in Australia. He's near death. He's very, very old, and he uses this notes function. He must be an actuary or something in real life, because who else would be this fastidious about keeping their notes?" So I put that in a video, and then he noticed, and we eventually we met over Discord and actually got to play Tarkov together when I was visiting the States last year. So and then I got to meet General Sam at TwitchCon last year as well. So we're buddies now. It's great.
It is awesome. And now, when you first started streaming, sort of like, what are some of the toughest things about hitting that go live button now for the last couple of years?
What's tough about going live? You have to psych yourself up. It's like you're hosting a party. Going live with a bunch of people there it's like you're hosting a party at your place. You have to get yourself in party mood, and you might not wake up in party mood. So you sort of got to get yourself ready to for guests to arrive at the door and make everyone feel welcome and keep the party going. So I like put on some music that gets me in the mood, and I put on other streamers, and often I'll watch other streams before I go live and chat in other people's channels and sort of start at somebody else's party before I start my own party. I find that a really fun way to warm up for a stream and get in the vibe, because I have a rule: if I don't feel like streaming, I don't stream, because I think streaming is something where it's really you can't really fake it. If you're not in the mood, it's just not going to work. So I'll just take that day off or stream in the afternoon instead of the morning or something like that. But being in the party mood is what it's all about.
And adding on to that, you include the martini glass, which I think is just like, that's like the cherry on top. Here's the distinguished gentleman of Tarkov with his martini, and it's just, let's go.
Look, it never intended to be part of the stream, but I started having a martini. I've had for years. I've had a martini, one per day, which is actually an unhealthy amount of alcohol nowadays. They don't recommend doing that anymore. It used to be you're allowed to have about 3 alcoholic drinks a day and still be okay. It's no longer healthy. But that's my habit around 5 o'clock. It sort of got earlier and earlier. But But yeah, my second ever raid a month into streaming was Sigma. And it wasn't a raid, it was a community challenge where she used to do this thing, she probably still does it, where she'd find a small streamer and get all of her chat to bomb their chat and give you and give them a challenge. And you get people came into the chat and said, "Streets or no, factory or labs, factory or labs, factory or labs." I was like, "What is this? What is this?" That's when Sigma raided me, and she's an amazing community builder as well, and now has amazing events and all of that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. But when Sigma raided, she said, "Oh my goodness, did he just bust out a martini?" And oh my God, he's the gentleman of gentlemen. It's now in my intro, so I know by rote what she said. And it just began. People thought this was fascinating
Yeah.
and very gentlemanly and classy, and having a martini on stream. So the first time I was ever in a tournament was Pestyly's Punisher 2 tournament, the one he did, which was on Labs. And that's the first time I ever set up a second camera just pointing at the martini in the corner. I had martini cam. I'd seen someone else have a cam of, I can't remember what, their snacks or no, they're cats and dogs. I saw people had a Doge cam and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
a cat cam. I said, I'm going to have a martini cam. And I had it for that tournament, and that caught on, and people loved it. So I had a martini cam ever since, and it's been part of the stream for better or worse.
That is awesome. And now, what advice would you have for, that person hitting the go live button?
Starting out streaming,
Yeah.
well, I tell you what, it's sort of, I never knew what made made people want to watch me or not, but so I didn't really have a plan going in. I just wanted to know what streaming was like and whether it would be fun or not for myself. So I never really had a plan, so I don't really know what to tell people trying it out. I guess I just tell people, try it out. Don't quit your day job. Like, just try it out in your spare time and see if it's fun for you, and see if people enjoy watching you, and see if it takes off. And give it time. It took ages before I could stream full time. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I streamed during COVID and when we had in lockdown, when I had no choice. But I went back to work being an editor after that, and then I just streamed after hours and on weekends for ages, until it sort of slowly built up and things started to take off. And then I was in a position. I set myself a goal of, okay, when I'm earning enough from Twitch to pay the rent, to cover the rent, then I'll think about going full time. And I'm one of the lucky ones where it did take off to
Yeah.
that extent. But in for a lot of people, it doesn't happen, and I don't know what is different. I know what's different about me, but you can't just say be the oldest person playing the game you're in by 20
Right.
years. Like, I don't know, have something distinctive about you. I think in general, it's just be yourself, and whatever it is that's unique about you, lean into it. That's I think the advice
All right.
that I followed from myself. Lean into it. I used to think I had to be a bro, I had to be a Chad, I had to be the best at the game, and I tried to wear a baseball cap in my
I
first
remember you
stream. It's
telling me
like,
about, yeah,
you know, but I listened to the audience, and they liked that I was older and more gentlemanly and more laid back, and so I just lean into that, and I think that's what I tell other people as well.
absolutely. And now, you said you were doing this part-time, went back to editing. When did
Mm.
you get to that point of like, okay, I can take this full time? Was it just a gradual increase of viewership went up, or were there certain events along the way that really, got you to that level? Okay, now we can really move away from this job and go full time.
It's funny how it happens. It's You just cruise along at a certain level, and you have the same number of viewers every day, and then you get a massive raid, or you're in a tournament, or something happens. You get invited to participate in something with bigger streamers, and then you get a big bump, and then you sit at that level for the next weeks and months, and then something else happens that bumps you to that next level. It really went in steps.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter, I found it was just a matter of you had to be there. You had to be around when the big lightning bolt struck. When I was streaming to 3 or 4 people in chat for a good 3 weeks until I got my first raid of 40 people. Then after that, I'd have 10 people in chat.
Yeah.
And I did that for ages until the next big bump was I got a raid from Dr. Lupo. I got a raid from Dr. Lupo when he was still on Twitch, and that was 2,000 people. And I'd never seen anything like it. I'd had raids from 100 people, but not from 2,000 people. And
Yeah.
that took me to another level. My followers, doubled or tripled or quadrupled or something like that. Then when I went live, I had, more people, and you get those bumps. And of course, getting that phone call from Pestily, that's a huge bump. But
Yes. Yeah.
before that, I was in the tournament he put on, and I was lucky enough to be featured on screen during that tournament, and people discovered me that day, and little things happened that all add up, and
Yeah.
you really have to just chip away at it, and in between there's just ordinary days, ordinary streams, which is still fun and great, but nothing magical happens, but it's still a fun process to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, how would you describe a Toastrack stream? What are they in for when they, click for the first time?
Well, they start off. A lot of people talk to chat for an hour at the start of stream, just talk, or half an hour or something like that. I go straight into tidying my stash. Usually, my Tarkov stash is a total dog's breakfast from the day before, and everything's everywhere. There's 0 squares free, and I'm broke. I'm out of money, and so my first hour of the stream is tidying the stash and chatting with people, the smaller number of people at the beginning of a stream. And so I call that the Patreon only section, the exclusive stash tidying session that most people never see, only the people who are there at the beginning. Of course, it's not for Patreons, it's just for the people who actually tune in when the go live message goes up. So I start off very slowly, just tidying my stash, looking up. I'm going through my junk box, thinking, okay, what can I get rid of? I need to make space. Do I need to keep wires? And I'm looking on the wiki to see if I need wires for my next hideout upgrade or whatever. No, I can sell these. Okay, sell those, and it's stash tidying. That's how it starts off. Then I'll do maybe a scav run to warm up. Then I'll go on my first PMC raid of the day, and then now we're into the swing of things. And there'll be breaks for snacks as well. So I've got a camera in the kitchen now, and I wear a lapel mic, so I can go over to the kitchen and make some toast. I'll put on some toast, make some Vegemite toast. Teach people how to make Vegemite toast. People put too much on their first time, big mistake. Or we'll do something like that, make a coffee in the kitchen and have chats in there, and then come back to Tarkov, and then of course mid-afternoon, late afternoon, there'll be martini preparation.
And I got to ask, where's your toaster setting? Is that like a 3 or a 4, or do you like your toast a little darker?
Well, I have it set on, probably 3.5 or 4. You've got to judge it by the bread. If the bread's really fresh, you'll need to turn it up a little. If it's if it's a couple of days old, you need to turn it back down. I might be doing raisin toast. That's a sweet bread. You got to turn it right down for that. That'll burn. But I like a golden brown, no black.
Nice. And now, how important is it to take breaks from streaming? Take a day or two without getting in your head that I'm going to lose the viewership.
I think it's super important. There are mental health challenges to being a streamer that you don't know about when you watch streamers. It just looks like fun, and people get to play games all day. How much fun is that? But there are actually mental challenges. So last year I really took note of people burn out streaming, and people some streamers seem to stream for a few years and then just burn out. They can't do it anymore, and they retire from streaming, try and do something else. and often they'll do a video about why I left streaming. And I really noticed a few people like that. Endra did a fantastic video on why she needed to take a break from streaming, and really went through and broke down the mental health challenges of streaming full time, because streaming is great fun, and it's addictive and really rewarding. If you get more and more people, you get that adrenaline rush of having a bigger and bigger party every day. But it uses up your social energy, and it uses up all of your social energy. And if you're an introvert like me and like a lot of streamers,
Mhm.
you, at the end of a stream, if you've streamed all day, 8 hours, or just did 12 hours for drops, you don't have any social energy left to socialize with your family, socialize with your partner, socialize with friends, and it reduces your ability to socialize with friends and family, and you can end up really dependent on that buzz from
Right.
going live and having a big raid. And if that starts to, but that goes up and down. At the start of wipe, huge crowds come. But
Yeah.
late wipe, that number goes down and the revenue goes down, and that can be a roller coaster that hurts your feelings. And but meanwhile, if you haven't looked after your social relationships in real life, you can end up really isolated,
Mhm.
and that's when you can really start getting mental health challenges. So I'm really trying to be aware of that from other streamers and more senior streamers who have been around longer,
Mhm.
and really try and do things to make sure as much as possible, I protect my mental health, keep my relationships going in real life, and don't become so dependent on all those numbers going up and the roller coaster of it.
Yeah, it's I've had a bunch of great creators on, like, Veritas talked about, you're streaming all day, you don't have that human to human interact. You're just reading chat. You're not having that,
Mm.
back and forth real conversation. And if you're doing this 8 to 10 hours a day, it's going to, like you said, wear on you, and it's just going to put you in a bad state.
It's a funny feeling. I finally understand what actors, movie, like big stars talk about, or stage performers or musician talk about the feeling of love from a crowd that you get from being a performer in front of a lot of people. It's a really addictive feeling. It's a magical feeling. It feels like being love bombed. Like there's 100 people or 1,000 people, or today 30,000 people there, almost all of which like you and say
Yeah.
nice things about you. And it's like it's a love bomb, it's a love wave, it's an amazing feeling. It's like, wow, I feel famous. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
a niche micro internet celebrity. No one recognizes me in the street, but right now I feel like a rock star. This is amazing. And you get that love wave, you get that love bomb, and it feels like being loved. But then you turn off the stream, and it's like, oh, hang on, I'm just alone in my apartment. This was all an illusion. It's not real IRL real, and it's like, oh, I want that feeling back. I'm going to go live again.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can get really hooked on that. It feels like love, but it's not. It kind of is, but it's virtual, and it's not in real life, and it's different. And if you get too dependent on that, it's sort of, you got to watch out that you keep perspective on it and don't get too hooked on that rush at the expense of actual real human connection and
Yeah.
interaction, which is the real thing that keeps you going.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, now you've been doing it for a couple of years. What does your family think? Because they're like, "How are you doing this? You're going from a, real job, and now you're just playing video games."
I tell you what, it takes some explaining to explain to people my age, and my parents. My dad's still around, and his wife, what streaming is. It's like I explain to my dad every time I see him. He says, I, and he's been on my stream. He's watched me stream. He still says, I still don't quite get it. What? I don't understand how this works. Why this works? I just went to my 40th high school reunion, um, and that was an amazing experience of talking to people exactly my age
Yeah.
from that I know from high school, explaining to them what streaming is, and they were like, "You make money from this, and people watch? Why?" And it's like explaining what Twitch is, and
Right.
I have a breakdown. I have a shortcut. I worked out a great way to explain it to boomers. Basically, is okay. You are you into golf or tennis? Do you play golf or tennis? Almost every person my age plays one of those two things.
Or
Okay,
pickleball.
yes, exactly. You're into like you like playing golf and you'll go play golf, but also you'll watch pro golf on TV, right? And you might even pay to go see a golf tournament at your local golf course now and then. It's the same with video games. It's just like sport. It's e-sport. It's similar to that. So you'll watch the pros, and you might get tips from them, or you might just enjoy watching people who uh, play this all day, every day. Now, in my case, I'm not a pro level player, but I do play it all day, every day. So I'm a higher level than most of my viewers, just because I've done more hours. So it's fun for them to see the new quests that arrived. There's new quests this wipe that no one's seen before. I had to go find weather stations on woods. I said to myself, I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to go find them myself and go out there and be an explorer and look for weather stations on woods. And people enjoy watching that. So that's how I explain it to people my age. It's a bit like golf or tennis.
Yes, absolutely. And now, speaking of, the weather station and, going to woods, what was your path to Tarkov? How did you find the game?
It was an interesting path. Ever since, I guess going back to we're talking about GoldenEye, and Halo, I really love first-person shooters with a bit of story to them. And then a year into having the Xbox, they released Xbox Live, and you could play with other people. And that's when I started playing games like Ghost Recon, like slow-paced shooters on big maps with a goal. So I started playing those sorts of things. And in fact, I started taking Ghost Recon on the Xbox really seriously. I was a part of a clan. I played every night after work. We had practice. We had tournaments. We played against teams in the US on leaderboards on websites and stuff like that. And so I really love that sort of slow-paced shooter on big maps with a bit of realism, bullet drop, realistic physics, stuff like that. And I always loved those games. And then when I came across to PC, I discovered Arma 3 Battle Royale, which is on a huge map, Stratos and things like that. And it was very slow paced, 100 people starting off, getting down to one. The matches are 40 minutes long. So I used to play that every chance I could in between editing jobs. But then and I used to play with Player Unknown, Brendan Green, I think, something like that. Met him at a PAX. I knew about PAX from that documentary I edited. Started going to PAX, and then PUBG came out. I played that for a while, but it started getting more and more cartoony, more and more Fortnite-y, and I started looking for a new game. And one of the streamers I was watching at that stage was Shroud, and I saw Shroud playing Escape from Tarkov one day. Like a lot of people, and so I thought, oh, this looks interesting. This looks something, but no one ever seems to escape from Tarkov. I don't understand this game. I need to find out more about it. I can't tell who's AI, who's another player, what's going on, who are these scavs. So I went to YouTube and looked up a guide to Escape from Tarkov. I was thinking about buying this game, and all these videos and guides came up by this guy called Pestily, and he's Australian. And he's a streamer, so you can watch him live and all that. And the reason I bought the game was I watched a guide by Pestily, and I thought, oh, this looks like fun. And it was on sale. It was just when he was having drops and when he really had that big blow up and 100,000 viewers, and we were all watching his streams. And that's when I bought Tarkov in the end of 2019, and that's what led me there.
And then what was the hook it had on you?
Oh, I loved that it was realistic. Like it had bullet drop and bullet mechanics, like at a level I never had seen before. Like different bullets travel at different speeds and have different impact profiles and all this sort of stuff. I'd never had that level of realism in a shooter before. Then it also had big-ish maps, but it also had goals, and so it had that crafting element. You have a hideout, you have missions, you have quests, all of that sort of stuff. So that really appealed to me as well. Had a sense of progression, and there was just so much to learn. It's really discovered it was a game of knowledge, and I really enjoyed the process of discovering all that knowledge. What items are the ones that are worth keeping, and what can I get rid of and not pick up? What are the good bullets and guns and bad ones?
Yeah.
And discovering all the quests, and there's just so much to it. So my first wipe, I only played a couple of maps. I only learning customs was hard. I
Mhm.
didn't do any other maps. I just focused on that one map, and just learning my way around that. And the learning curve was difficult, but I also found it really compelling and addictive. And I started watching a lot of YouTube guides. I'd watch all of Pestyly's guides for each map. Each time I went to a new map, I'd watch a guide. I'd go around it offline. I'd find a map to have on a second screen from the wiki, and really throw myself into it like a detective mission or something like that. And I
Mhm.
really loved the learning process and the detail of it all. That really got me hooked.
Nice. And now, after playing it for multiple years now, what are some of the, what keeps you hooked on it?
I tend to main a game for multiple years, so it's not my first game I've mained. I played, Arma 3 Battle Royale. I played for years, and just on 2 or 3 maps. And PUBG only had 1 map when it came out, and then it had 2. Wow, I played that for a number of years. So it's not unusual for me to get hooked on one game and play it for many years and just go to a deeper and deeper level. And Tarkov gives you that level of depth. I still haven't learned my way around labs fully. I've still got a long way to go on that. I'm still not great at crafting guns and weapon attachments. I still haven't plumbed all the depths of that part of the world. And then there's always new content each wipe, and this wipe
Yeah.
especially is a huge amount of new content to discover. I haven't been to all the new places on streets yet. I'm still discovered. I just discovered today there's a new area way up north on streets where there's a pharmacy you have to go visit
Yep.
for a quest, and all this stuff. And there's a strip club I haven't even been to yet. I've heard about it. It was just a locked door last wipe. So I keep coming back to discover all this new stuff, and it's addictive.
Yeah, BSG has done such a good job with this game. The amount of content they keep adding into it, and when it comes 1.0 release, I'm excited for that.
I'm excited for that. Yep, Nikita said in the Christmas broadcast, he said 2024 1.0 is coming out. And all the old timer streamers who have been around before me, they've said, yeah, we've heard that before. I mean, don't forget, most of the stuff in this wipe was meant to come out last wipe,
Yes. Yep.
and got delayed. We got that roadmap. I mean, Shoreline expansion, that's all new. That
Yep.
wasn't expected last wipe. But the Streets expansion, the BTR, the new boss on Streets, left shoulder shooting, vaulting, that was all meant to come out last wipe.
Yeah.
It's been delayed. So there's this sort of process with BSG where you think you're getting a new thing sooner, and it takes way longer than you think. But when you get it, it's good.
Oh
It's
yeah,
good.
like they delivered on this wipe. And I think a lot of people, may not realize how hard it is to develop a game, and so much complexity goes into this. And then, it's just, yeah, but what we have is amazing. I think, I it the amount like the way I value a game is how many hours per dollar essentially. So like if I go to a movie, it's 2 hours of entertainment for $20. So $10 an hour is sort of my key. Dude, I've got a couple of thousand hours in this game. It doesn't owe me anything, but how can people get mad after, hundreds of hours into this game?
Well, yes, they get mad from overpromise and underdeliver. You know,
Yeah.
we were going to get the first tests of Arena in
Oh
fall
God,
of
yes.
2022, right? That did not happen. It didn't even come in fall of 2023. You know, there was some promises broken.
Yeah,
You know, and that gets people riled up
it
if it's your
does.
passion. But I think it's unfortunate that people this sort of meme around the game is you know, Tarkov's not meant to be fun. It's meant to be hard. You know, it's meant to make you mad, and that's sort of become a meme. And it's got its own momentum, even when it's sort of not true. People find a way of making it true. I'm more positive about the game than a lot of people. But then I've only been streaming it 2 years or 2 or 3
Yeah.
years. I guess I feel like the people who have been there since alpha have a right to be you know, they've had their hearts broken a few times.
Yeah.
I sort of tend to I know from my own history in software development, software is hard. Software takes a long time. It takes longer than you think. Everyone in the software industry is bad at estimating how long it takes to code something. It's often out by a factor of two, and this game is no different. And you just got to live with that.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, part of like you were talking about the meme Tarkov is hardest. I mean, I think that hardness, toughness of this game makes the community what it is. We're all suffering together in this game. And I just, I really enjoy the people in this community. I think we have a wonderful place here.
I think it's great, and especially the community around Twitch and around streaming Tarkov. It's just gathered such a beautiful group of people that really support each other. What we all have in common that we like a game that's more difficult, more challenging, and more rewarding. It's not like Candy Crush where you
Yeah.
get constantly, instantly over the top rewards over and over again, no matter what. No matter what you do, good or bad. You know, we like a game that is difficult, that we have to work at, and then the reward is so much more meaningful. We've sort of burnt out on easy games. We want a hard game because we want that reward. So the community has that in common. And that means you've got a sort of a longer event horizon. You've got a bigger picture perspective. And that draws together slightly more mature people, I think,
Mhm.
and more thoughtful people, and also a bit older. The crowd is generally a bit older than a Fortnite stream or a COD stream. So it's more mature in life as well. But then also it's a smaller game. I mean, it's in the top 5 on Twitch now for drops and things like that,
Right.
and it might even be number 2 channel category after just chatting sometimes. But normally it sits around 10 to 20. So it's a lesser known game. It might when I get my haircut, they say, I say I play video games. Oh, what game do you play? Escape from Tarkov. Never heard of it.
Right.
Never heard of it. It's more of a niche game, and so the community is sort of slightly smaller community and
Yeah.
a really strong community, and the community of streamers is amazing as well. We all know each other and love each other and help each other out. And then Twitch has this beautiful mechanism at the end of a stream. You take your party to somebody else's party and raid somebody else and give them this amazing gift of all these viewers. What an amazing community building mechanism. There's this present you get to give another streamer every time you stream. And
Yeah.
that builds a beautiful community feeling as well.
Yeah, the whole raid concept is just amazing because you can take, like you said, you take your 500,000 people and you find somebody who's maybe just streaming the 10. You drop them in there. You just made their day, their week, and it's so cool to be able to do that after every time you guys stream.
It's so much fun to go raid. I love raiding small streamers. I do it about half the time now, and because I remember that raid, I tell the story all the time. That time Nixia raided with 40
Yeah.
people, which is mind blowing, and my brain melted. I didn't know what to say, and I just went toward, and I love creating that moment for someone
Mhm.
else. with a big raid on a small streamer, and it's life changing stuff, and it's a lot of fun to share that love.
Yeah. And speaking of community, how would you describe the Toastrack community?
The Toastrack community is like the Tarkov community. It's a bit old. And because I'm older, it's a bit older as well. So I still have 20-year-olds in there and 30-year-olds, but all the old gamers really love to come by and hang out and say, "Yes, I'm an over 50s gamer. I'm an over 40s gamer, and playing Tarkov. We gotta stick together." So it's a great community of people. Also, my chat is very warm and supportive and non-toxic. So we don't sledge each other.
Yeah.
Some chats have that banter style, which is a lot of fun, and I love being in those chats and slinging, witty insults and stuff like that. But my chat's not like that. It's a gentler sort of chat. We don't sledge each other, and it's an open space and it's a safe space. In fact, because one of the things that happens when I stream is because I'm 20 years older than other streamers or more, people see me as a bit of a dad and ask me life advice stuff.
Yeah.
And that started happening spontaneously, and I'm down for that. I'm down for a discussion of today in stream, even though there's 30,000 people there with drops. Someone's in there redeeming life advice, saying, "My mum's passed away. It's been a few months, but I'm really having trouble getting back into life. Do you have any tips?" And it's like, yes, let's talk about this. Let's get out of raid,
Yeah.
and I have a fireside scene I'll pull up, and let's do some life advice. Anyone else had a experience like this? What's it like? I lost my mum 20 years ago when I was in early 30s. It was devastating. We talked about the grief process. We talked about how it takes longer than you think. It hits you in unexpected ways, and give yourself space for that, and tell other people you need space for that, because they won't know about this stuff. And other people are chiming in saying similar stories, and like we get into these deep and meaningful discussions right there in Tarkov raids. And I'm totally down for that. Relationship advice we do, career advice. I've got this job interview. Have you got any tips? My partner said this to me. What does it mean? We do all sorts of stuff like
Nice.
that, and I'm down for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, my wife and I were just talking the other day, we're in this 50s age, and our parents are getting older, and now you've got to deal with them getting older in age and try to, nothing prepares you for that aspect of life, growing up like, oh, it's mom and dad, they'll be there forever. And now they may be going through some, elder issues, and now it's like, yeah, it's tough. But to have a
Yeah.
platform where viewers can come in and, that's nice.
That's right. That's right. We've talked about looking after getting to the age where you need to look after your parents, and your parents aren't capable of as much, and they have their own challenges, and dealing with that sort of stuff. And then you got to talk with your siblings and have a plan and have it all out in the who's up for what, and like my dad's at he's retired, and he's his background as a scientist and programmer for years, but now booking flights is a bit beyond him.
Yeah.
All those pop-ups that say, "Do you want to upgrade? Do you want to get this? Do you want to get this?" He doesn't know which ones to say yes and no to. So now me and my sister will take care of his booking of flights and stuff like that, so errors don't happen. And we're slowly getting to that stage where he's going to need more and more care and stuff like that, and talking about that. So
Wow.
we talk about that and chat a bit as well.
So, speaking of community, going to TwitchCon, that first time you went to TwitchCon or any of these events, you look left and there's your peers, ones your idols you look to, and then you whip around and here's Toastrack, people who are looking at you as that. What is that experience like? Because, that's again, nothing, prepares you for that.
It was so amazing going to TwitchCon, and but also don't forget, I started streaming during COVID. So PAX was cancelled for 2 years in Australia. There was no events happening at all for my first couple of years of streaming. So when PAX came back, it was like, oh yes, and I'm lucky enough to live in Melbourne, Australia. I can walk to PAX.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to book flights and hotels. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to be at PAX. I'm going to all 3 days. There's no doubt. I've been to every Melbourne PAX except the first one, but going as a streamer is an amazing experience because that's when you do get to feel like a rock star. You walking down the street, no one will ever recognize me. I get recognized in the street maybe 2 times a year. And it's usually in a tech store. Like buying RAM was one of the 2 times I got recognized in the street, But at PAX, you're suddenly a famous celebrity, and you get to feel that. You get to meet fans who, and you say, oh, what's your handle? It's like, oh, so great to meet you in real life. Let's have a beer. And we did a Tarkov meetup at PAX, and that was an amazing experience of really connecting with people IRL. And the other part of it is meeting other streamers, because these are the guys I looked up to when I was starting out. Meeting, I got to meet Pestily, which is amazing, but meeting all the other Aussie Tarkov streamers, meeting Train, meeting Red Ops, meeting Slushpuppy, meeting Mr. Drakezilla, meeting Colts, and meeting the Kiwi streamers who'd come over as well. And meeting these people, and like I'm fanboying all of them as well, and it's amazing to hang out. And I worked out what it's like. It's a bit like, it reminds me of in previous careers, you might work remotely with other people for years and years in a company, but never meet them until you have a company like Christmas party or a company offsite strategy meeting or something like that, and you get to meet your co-workers in the real world for the first time. So it's a bit like the office Christmas party for streamers, going to a PAX or going to TwitchCon. You get to meet, and then going to Vegas and meeting the biggest streamers around, meeting Landmark, meeting Willers, meeting Sheaf, meeting Gingy, meeting all these amazing people, mind-blowing. And of course they're other streamers. They know what your life is like. They're the only people who know what your life is like, and you have this bond because you live the same strange life in front of a computer screen, holding a party for hundreds of people, and living that life. And so it's great to be able to spend time with other streamers and also meet the fans and really create those connections.
Yeah, and you were talking about the Australian streamers and the Kiwi streamers. You guys come out and you guys love to get together. I love seeing all the pictures from when you guys get together at PAX and whatnot. Like, and I've had a whole bunch of you on. I've had Train, I've had Trent, Afraid, Slush, you. Yes, it's just, and Michael. Michael is a character all on his own.
Yes, he sure is. Absolutely. It's an amazing community we've got down here in Australia, and we're really lucky to have such a great group of people. It's a big country though, so the people are scattered all over the place. They might be most of the Australian streamers I know are sort of an hour's flight, 2 hours flight, 3 hours flight away. And I only see them at PAX or DreamHack or something like that. So it's great to have those opportunities because it is a big country, but we do have a special bond.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, the other thing that I think is really, really great and unique with the Tarkov community is the charity that's done. We talk about Pestily, and you were part of helping him, raise money for the Starlight Foundation. And this, I just love all the charity work that, all you content creators are doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of great charity work. I haven't done a lot myself. I want to do mental health related charity work. So I want to find a global mental health brand that I can work with and do charity work, because a lot of mental health charities are very regional. So we have some great ones in Australia, and there's some great ones in the US and great ones in Europe. But Twitch has a global audience, so I want to be able to reach everyone. So I'm yet to partner with someone for charity, but I've done lots of charity stuff with Pestily, with Starlight Foundation. I think we did pies in faces
Yes.
for charity and all that sort of crazy stuff. And it's great to be part of that. And a lot of Australian streamers do charity work for cancer, Game On, and stuff like that as well. And that's something that a lot of people are involved in. And yeah, I'm still at the figuring out where my charity work is going to be. It's definitely going to be mental health related, I think. And I'm going to do more this year. But yeah, the charity work we do is really important. And whenever I can help out with that stuff, I'm totally down for it. It's great to
Now,
do.
when are we going to see, Toastrack in the Pestily fireman calendar? Maybe.
Oh my goodness! Like I'm, I'm lucky that when I've been there for a subathon, I get off lightly. Like they'll do 100 push-ups for a charity goal or a sub goal or something like that. I'll just do 10 at the end. I'll get off lightly. Some of the stuff those guys have done is absolutely crazy. But I tell you what, Pestily is one hell of a creative person.
Yeah.
He's been streaming many years longer than me, and yet he's always coming up with these amazing creative ideas. Like coming up with the Creators Uncut series that he just did. I was glad not to be there. I don't know if I'd cope with being locked up in a house for multiple days, being on camera the whole time. But that sort of stuff is so creative, and I look forward to being involved in the tamer end of the spectrum. I did do a hot tub stream. I never thought I'd do a hot tub stream. I did a hot tub stream at Pestyly's last time I was there, last wipe, with Pestily, and Swagger Souls flew over as well.
Oh, wow.
So he has the helmet on
Yes.
in the hot tub. That was amazing. Got to hang with Swagger Souls, and Pestily got in there with the killer helmet on. It was crazy times, and oh boy, yeah, we get up to some shenanigans, that's for sure.
I love it. You're not afraid to throw yourself out there. It is fantastic to see.
Within reason, within
Yes,
reason.
absolutely.
I was watching Creators Uncut going, I don't know if I'd cope with this. I think I'm too old and set in my ways to be told when to eat, what to eat,
Yes.
and when to do what and stuff like that. I don't know. So there's definitely a line there somewhere, but I'm up for a lot of things in the name, especially in the name of charity or a good time. I think I dyed my hair black. I dyed my beard black. Then I shaved it into a mow, like a bikey mow. I was told that dye would wash out in 11 washes. It did not wash out in 11 washes. I've still got some of the hair dye still in my hair. But it was all good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So now TwitchCon Vegas, was that your first time in Vegas, or had you been there before?
It was just it was my second time in Vegas, but I'd only been there for a stopover for half a day.
Okay.
So I had been in Vegas once, and basically I used to date someone who was from New Jersey, so we used to fly home for the holidays, and you'd often get snowed in. There'd be a big storm early or something like that, and we got stuck in LA trying to get to New Jersey. And we found every flight was cancelled, but we found a seat on a flight. If we drove to Vegas and then caught a plane, then first thing the next morning. So we rented a car, drove to Vegas from LA. It's just 3-hour drive. That was easy. We stayed at the Venetian, which is an amazing palatial. I could never afford it now, but back then it was quite affordable. I think she had some points left over or something, and we just stayed up all night and checked out Vegas until the next morning and got our flight onward. So I had a very Vegas experience my first time in Vegas, but I'd always wanted to go back and experience it properly. So I got to do it. So when I saw that TwitchCon was in Vegas, I was like, oh, I'm just going to fly myself there and have the time of my life, experience Vegas and experience TwitchCon. And then I saw that my favorite band, U2, is going to be starting a new show in this thing called a Sphere, and I got myself tickets to that. So the day I flew in, Wednesday before TwitchCon, that night I saw you two in the Sphere after 20 hours of flying and sort of slightly out of my head. And what an amazing experience that was, I'll tell you what.
What are they still good live? I saw them even, 15 years ago, and it was a great show then. Do they still have it?
They're definitely showing their age. It's a bit like watching the Rolling Stones. It's like in the close-ups, you see a lot of wrinkles, but there's still amazing musicians and performers live. They still have the energy. Larry, the drummer, wasn't there. He's having surgery this year and
Yeah.
recovering from surgery. So a younger guy, one of the drum techs, is playing the drums and doing a great job. So it's only 3 out of 4, but an amazing show. And they're a really smart band. They think a lot, think things through, and they really use this new canvas in new, unexpected ways. And it was an amazing experience to watch. And I still love them. People hate on U2 for the free album forced in your iTunes folder. People are still angry about a free album, and people get upset because Bono's pretty outspoken about poverty and stuff like that. Stuff, he gets mouthy and stuff. So people hate on YouTube, but I just love their music and love their performances live. And they're still great.
And now, sorry, so what album would you rank as your favorite if you had to pick one out of them? And mine is probably Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree was the first album I fell in love with, and is definitely up there. But for me, the album that really cemented me was Achtung Baby. It was after Rattle and Hum, and they went to Germany and reinvented themselves with electronic influences. And I used to listen to Kraftwerk and stuff like that growing up, and I loved all that. I loved how they reinvented themselves, and that was the Zoo TV tour that I missed out on. I was living in Sydney at the time, and I could hear the Zoo TV concert at a dinner party I was at, and I was like, I was kicking myself that I didn't buy tickets to that show. Then it came out on DVD as one of their best concerts to watch live, and this show at the Sphere is they play Achtung Baby in full, my favorite album in full. And so that was the other reason I paid an ungodly amount to see you two at the Sphere.
Oh, excellent. All right. And so for TwitchCon Vegas, you got to interview Nikita, you got the cast. How, first of all, I'm jealous. You got to talk to the man. How was that?
It was unbelievable. I never thought I'd meet Nikita in my life, let alone interview him. That was a dream come true. Let me tell you, when I booked my ticket to TwitchCon, Tarkov was not even going to be there. Battlestate was not even going to be there. That was announced much later, quite close to when TwitchCon happened. And then they became a key sponsor of the event and had a big stand and had arena. That was all a big surprise. So I thought I was just going to go to TwitchCon just to meet people and to meet up like the previous TwitchCon streamers talked about, meeting up at cafes and bars outside TwitchCon. There was no focus for Tarkov people in TwitchCon, San Diego or Paris. People met up outside, and TwitchCon was sort of not that relevant to the Tarkov community, but it was a focal point and people would meet up around it. But then to have as Battlestate Games have a stand, and a massive stand, and be able to play arena, which we hadn't done yet, and you could just walk up and play arena. That was amazing. And then I heard they were going to have this tournament, and they were inviting streamers to have a tournament live, and I was like, oh wow, this is going to be great. I'm checking my inbox, and I can't wait to hear about this tournament. Checking my inbox, there's no invite for Toastrack TV to this tournament. I'm like, where's my invite? So I messaged all the people I knew at BSG saying, hey, any spots free in that tournament? And oh, by the way, do you need any help casting? And they said, we could use your services casting. I was like, oh my goodness, I landed this gig casting the first ever arena tournament with all these amazing streamers. And that was just a dream come true. I'd cast tournaments from home online before, but not in real life. Luckily, I was paired up with Jameson, an amazing, experienced Twitch Rivals caster, and so he's a pro, and you really carried me through the ins and outs. He did all the ad reads, he did all the score call outs, he did all the welcome back to the cast and all that sort of stuff, and I could just focus on color, calling the actual action. So he really helped me out, and it was great meeting a professional caster like that. But and then during the first day, I had no warning.
Oh, really?
They said, you are going to interview one of us is going to interview Nikita. Who wants to do it? I said, I'll do it. And Jameson said, well, you're the Tarkov person, you should do it. So I was like, now I'm interviewing Nikita. I have no preparation. I have no question list. I don't know what's on the table, off the table.
Right.
And Nikita, and I had met Nikita and shook hands and done a selfie with him, but that's all. And now I'm interviewing the man behind the game, and it's like, wow, this is amazing. But I had done preparation because when I was at the 50-day subathon, I had this chat with Pestily. Pestily said he's going to be interviewing Nikita in a month or two or something like that. I'm not sure if it happened. I think it did.
Yeah.
But I said, no one has interviewed Nikita properly. People interview Nikita. They ask him, when's this gun coming to the game? When are you going to fix the sound? When's this happening? When's there going to be a cat in the hideout? And it's all these questions he's heard before, and they're kind of yes-no questions. They're not interesting interview questions.
No.
They're burning questions, but they're not interesting interview questions. I said to Pestily, no one said, what motivates you to keep doing this? You've been doing it ever since Contract Wars. How has it evolved? Did you ever think this would happen? What surprised you about it? What do you love about this now? Like, bring out the personality. And so I had that came back into my head when I was interviewing Nikita. I got to ask all those questions.
Nice.
And it was a great experience.
That's fantastic. So cool. All right. So now, what is Armed and Dangerous? I see that on your Twitch, that you're affiliated with that team or group.
Yeah, Armed and Dangerous is a group of Tarkov content creators who got together around the idea of supporting each other in Tarkov by raiding each other and shouting each other out, and it's just a loose group of people streaming Tarkov, but it's got some big names in it. It's got Sheaf and Gingy and Blueberry Gabby and Willers and Stankrat and Axel and some great streamers are in there. And we sort of started trying to organize a group to organize raiding each other and stuff like that when there's drops or when our stream schedules overlap. We noticed that we sort of got together in order to help each other out with raids and with supporting each other and just bit of community as well. So we got together and called ourselves Armed and Dangerous, and it's been a great forum, another place to be able to talk to other content creators about, we've got this going on. Are you having this problem? Or bounce ideas off each other and sort of support each other in this crazy job.
Yeah, that is so important to have. Like, I had Deadly Slob on a year and a half ago or so, and he was talking about the marksman, him, Cotton, Pep, Markstrom, just be able to, vent, bounce ideas off of, and talk about the problems that they have. Like you said, IRL friends have no clue about this. They're not going to understand anything, you're just playing the game. No, so much more than that. But to be able to have peers that you can trust and confide and bounce ideas off is so important and healthy.
Yeah, it is. And it's really good, especially since I got to meet lots of those streamers in that group in real life. And most of us got to have dinner together in Vegas, and so actually have IRL connection as well, and that's really valuable in a community as well. It's a luxury. Most of us never meet each other. You and I have never met, yet I feel like we're old pals. because we've met several times over,
Right.
over this sort of format, and it feels like hanging out. And it'd be great to hang out and have a beer one TwitchCon or something like that as well,
Absolutely.
one day as well. But it's that sort of connection that's really valuable because in this job, it's otherwise it's you working alone at home. It's
Exactly.
isolating, so you
Yeah.
really crave that connection.
Yeah. So now, you've been blessed to have some sponsors. Do you want to shout out some of the people that have been helping you?
I'm so lucky to have got some sponsors, and that's another reason to go to events like PAX and DreamHack and TwitchCon is to meet some of those sponsors and make those relationships. So Pestily was generous enough to introduce me. He said, "Hey, come to DreamHack. I'll take you around the show floor and I'll introduce you to the sponsors." So that's how I met Intel. And they came on board and sponsored me, and now I've got on board with Lenovo as well. Great brands like that. Fractal, the people who make the Swedish company that make the beautiful cases. I have a
Hmm.
Fractal PC. I built my first ever PC on stream about a year ago with parts from Intel and a case by Fractal, and that all happened. But the my favorites, those sponsors are all great, but the really good sponsor I got last year, just for a brief time, was Hendrix Gin.
Ah,
Sponsored me. They sent me a case of gin, gratis, of all these boutique gins.
yeah.
And wow, that was, I just felt like a total rock star when I when I got that sponsorship. That was the one that I really fell in love with.
That is awesome. And now, so when you disconnect from stream, what do you like to do? I know we talked a little about, you enjoy racing. I see a guitar back there. Is that for show, or do you actually, are you playing it?
That's definitely for playing off stream, never on stream. I would not subject anyone to that. Yeah,
So we're
the
not
the
going to see
funny
any duos between you and Veritas anytime soon.
look, I used to love watching Veritas, and he'd pull out the guitar between raids and do some sick riffs and record songs and play songs and sing and like that's not going to happen. Well, never say never, never say never. For enough subs, a streamer will do just about anything, But the funny thing about doing your hobby for a living is that it's not your hobby anymore. I
Yeah.
know some streamers, as soon as they end stream, they get straight back on Tarkov and play some more Tarkov. But I find no, a stream's worth of Tarkov is kind of enough Tarkov for me.
Yep.
I like having every raid on my progress, every wipe is on stream. I don't do any behind the scenes streams. Like every quest is done on stream
Yeah.
for people to watch. So I like having that rule for myself. So I don't play games like I used to do for relaxation. So usually I'm sort of exhausted and loved, but because streaming takes so many hours, I don't have much hour for my old passion, film and TV.
Yeah.
So I have a big queue of shows I'm watching. I can only watch one series or two series at a time and drill down on those. So it's often catching up on a
Yeah.
series and watching a drama or a comedy, on a streaming platform, and that's my downtime.
Yeah, so last time we talked a little bit about Formula One racing, and Slush, he went to Monaco last year. Any tracks for you're gonna try to catch?
I am so jealous. I am so jealous. Yes, Slush has that background in kart racing, knows racing car people. I actually, I started streaming during COVID lockdown. My partner and I at the time, we had tickets to Italy to go on the trip of a lifetime to Europe, and I had tickets to Monaco Grand Prix
Wow.
2020. So I was going to go see the Monaco Grand Prix in May 2020. I had tickets. I had tickets to Rascasse. So the final turn is named after a hotel, and that's called Rascasse. I was going to be inside Rascasse. I paid
Wow.
a lot of money to be there for the race. I was going
Oh,
to fly in for race day from Rome, and that was going to be my Monaco Grand Prix. I'm a big Formula One fan, and Monaco is just the most iconic race
It is.
It's the old street circuit. It's insane that they even try to race Formula One cars on those tight turns and narrow roads. They have a very difficult time of it. And yeah, that was my dream to go. And so my dream is still to go see a Monaco Grand Prix. When I heard Slush went, it's like, oh man, that burns.
Uh, yeah,
So one day I'll go to the Monaco Grand Prix. But I get to go to the Melbourne Grand Prix every year.
nice.
I'm very spoiled. But that one, and I'd love to go to the British Grand Prix as well. They're the two iconic races I'd love to go to one day.
Yeah, I absolutely. And now, did you know there is a connection with Max Verstappen, Red Bull, and Tarkov? There's a content creator, Brrake
Uh,
F1. He was Max's F1 race engineer, and he was with him when Max won at Monaco for the first time. And he loves playing Tarkov.
wow,
Yeah,
that
he
is
was on the pod a
amazing.
while ago. Yeah, fantastic guy. He's from Texas, lives in the UK, and he's was worked for Red Bull F1, and now he's a content creator, and he dabbles in Tarkov.
That is amazing. I did see a current Formula One driver streaming Tarkov
Wow.
recently. I've forgotten who that was. Maybe someone in chat will remember. I caught some of that stream, and I just saw his viewer numbers. It's like, oh my goodness! When a real celebrity plays Tarkov on Twitch, Lando Norris, it was
Oh,
absolutely huge, and he was playing Tarkov. That was wild.
right.
So I caught that stream like a month ago or something like
Yeah.
that. Is either playing Tarkov or Arena. I can't remember which. I think it was Tarkov. And the other F1 connection was not Tarkov, but who was the driver in that horrific crash where there's a fireball and he
Oh,
and he left
last
Formula
year
One
or
a
2
couple
years
of
ago?
years ago. Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, and now he races in a different series. But he streamed his recovery, and he did a lot of racing streams on Twitch. Grosjean, yeah,
Oh,
Roman
okay.
Grosjean. And so you sort of got to experience his recovery and as well as practicing racing with it because his hands were very burnt. He
Yeah,
had to pull himself out of the car on burning metal, and his hands were the
yeah.
most injured part of his body. So his hands very slowly recovered, and he was using racing sims. I used to watch him on Twitch all the time and follow his social media, and he's great to watch
Nice.
on Twitch as well. But he's yet to play Tarkov, I
All
think.
right, we'll get him on Tarkov. And actually, you guys are we're importing a Australian driver from your neck of the woods over here for NASCAR this year, Shane Van Gisbergen from the Supercar Series. He's racing in NASCAR this year.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'll look
Yeah.
out for him. And we're lucky to have two Australian Formula One drivers at the moment as well,
Yes.
with
Yeah.
Piastri. So I've got Piastri merch I wear on stream as well as my Ricardo merch.
Oh, I love Daniel. I hope he does
Yeah.
well this year. How can you not
Yeah.
like that guy?
He's such a lovable guy, and he's had such a rough trot of
Yeah.
late, but you really root for him, and he's a joy to watch.
Yeah. All right, Toastrack. Well, we got to the end. First of all, anything coming up this year that you want to give a shout out to? Anything people should look out for from you?
I just moved house to this studio, and I chose this apartment with streaming in mind. So I'm really enjoying no green screen. This is an actual sideboard that I inherited from my grandfather,
Oh, wow.
and I've been enjoying decorating the place and having cameras everywhere. Sort of inspired by Pestyly's studio.
Mhm.
He's got cameras all over the place. And so I'm really enjoying the possibilities of having a streamer den to stream from. And I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I think more events, PAX, Twitchcon, maybe a European Twitchcon,
Oh,
something
wow.
like that. But I'm loving the occasional IRL stream as well. Hopefully more tournaments and stuff like that, and more IRL stuff, as well as more Tarkov, and who knows what else will happen this year. But it's going to be big.
Excellent. Well, hey, thank you again for doing this. But before I go, like last time you were on, you got to shout out somebody in your circle, maybe somebody from your side of the world should come on Tarducks and share their story.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back again because it's been a while since I've done a Tarducks episode. I think I was episode 2 or 3
You
in the
were yeah, you were
series.
in that first 10, man, and
In
I,
the first,
really appreciate
yeah,
yeah, and now we're up to
that's right.
126 right now. It's
It's been
crazy.
amazing to watch. I'm a fan of Tarducks podcast, so it's great to be back again and great to have a chat again. Who would I shout out? I reckon Red Ops would be amazing on the show.
Alright.
I don't think you've had him on. He's
I
just
haven't, no.
done the subathon with Pestily. They're both army guys, and when the two of them get together, it's
Oh
amazing to
gosh.
watch them. He's a great streamer. He's also got big plans for the year, and but is a really unassuming guy. He's a real quiet guy IRL, but he's very loud in Tarkov. He's got a great personality for streaming and
Hmm.
has fascinating story to tell. So I reckon Red Ops would be one I'd shout out.
Alright, we'll get him on. Alright, well, hey, enjoy the rest of this raid and drops, and thank you again. It was wonderful to chat with you again.
Great to chat with you, Newf. I really enjoy it. Thank you.